who's to say whether any product is made with no slaves in this world, right? Like, at some level, probably nothing is.
Yeah.
But chocolate is the one where it's like maybe
Basically
100%.
impossible, yeah. I mean, I guess you can do it from scratch. That's your option.
You would have to live in a climate where you can grow chocolate.
Well, we're doing the rare brunch hour recording. It's the Lord's Day at about 11:30. You know, it's not long for this world that I will not be in church at this hour. We're probably going to recklessly start in-person church services again in September or something like that.
Well, that's right when things should be getting totally better because of children going back to school. So that's going to fix the whole problem.
Yeah. But it's a brunch hour, so I'm drinking sparkling pomegranate juice with gin. Allison's drinking also drugs in the form of coffee.
Yep, that's right.
You were insistent upon describing it as an adult beverage.
Yeah, that's right. That's what they call it when you drink alcohol. It's an adult beverage. But I'm not having an adult beverage.
Oh, coffee is not one?
Coffee's not an adult beverage. It doesn't have.
Is it for kids too?
That's right. It's for children.
So you're coming out in favor of allowing small children, infants maybe, to suckle at the tea of coffee.
I'm saying that adult beverage is a euphemism for alcoholic beverage, the way adult film is a euphemism for pornography. It's not like Synecdoche, New York or something. That's, I would say, a very adult film.
You're right.
That's not what that term means.
Is absinthe more of an adult beverage than Bud Light?
No, less of an adult beverage because it's more pleasurable.
Oh, so an adult beverage has to make you miserable ultimately too?
Well, I'm just saying if you're ranking two alcoholic beverages, the one that's more whimsical and unusual and beautiful is the less adult one.
Oh, wow, that's telling.
It's seedy business. It's seedy business.
We ate some really old fava beans that we grew and dried years ago and didn't die.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was maybe about a year ago. I think it was one of the last things at the garden
in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're delicious. I guess I didn't realize that they were huge.
Yep.
And meaty.
I don't know if I'd use that word.
How do you describe their texture?
I would say they were actually sort of potato-like.
Yeah, starchy, I guess. Usually when we're saying a vegetable or whatever is meaty, it's because it is thick.
I guess it means that it's firm and full of glutamates.
Anyway, they were delicious. You made a spicy sauce to put them in.
Yeah, it was like a fava bean shakshka or something.
Oh, that's fancy. A spicy pony head sauce.
Yeah, spicy pony head. That's right. Yeah, we had fava beans.
Do you want to do the pony head bit in its entirety on this podcast?
It's a Casper Hauser bit called Spicy Pony Head, and it's very, very funny.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I'll cut in what is a reasonable use amount of the clip, maybe.
It is a lot of food, eh? We have also a demi pony head. This is a 1/2 pony.
No, I don't want a demi pony head. I don't want any pony head. I try not to eat things that I would ride at the fair.
Oh, so you would not eat a monkey?
I wouldn't ride a monkey at the... Okay, touche. Just, you know what? Bring me a flank steak, medium rare, side salad, blue cheese, okay?
Spicy pony head flank steak, salad, blue cheese.
No, what did you just say?
Cheese.
No, before that.
Bleu.
No, you said spicy pony head. Are all of your steaks pony head meat?
Have we eaten anything else we've grown lately?
Well, I made a ton of pesto.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I did post on the Instagram a picture of the excessive amount of basil that you brought in, and then like the 8 extremely tiny tomatoes. This was an imbalanced harvest. Actually, let's go into what's in the garden.
Then let us cultivate our garden. It's the only way to make life endurable.
A lot of basil.
and 8 tiny tomatoes. Comically tiny. I would say they were the size of blueberries.
Yeah. I think you ate one and commented, it has pretty good flavor, but it's almost all skin.
Yeah. The ratio of skin to the rest of it is very high when it's a tiny tomato. And forget about there being any gel. Just throw that out right away. You're not going to get gel.
Yeah, they were pretty gel free.
Yeah. Whatever happened to the other tomato plant?
It's still there.
Can we eat the tomatoes on it?
I tried one and it wasn't good.
Do they have to get a different color before we eat them?
I think we have 2 issues. One, the tomatoes, I never repotted them. I mean, I thought they were going to go in the ground at some point. They're in pots that are way too small. And then they sit in an area that gets a huge amount of afternoon sun and they just get baked to death every single day.
Right.
Much like our old house, we don't have any area that gets morning sun, afternoon shade, which is the ideal situation for a garden.
Right. We do have most of our stuff where we get no morning sun and absolutely blistering afternoon sun.
Yeah. So the tomatoes are really suffering under that regime. And I just don't think they are able to produce much.
Has there been any motion on the Robeson tomatoes?
So the seeds have sprouted. They're in the backyard, which is basically 100% shade. It's all shade all the time.
Yeah.
So they're growing very slowly.
Sure.
But I don't know what else to do for them.
Slow but strong.
Well, yeah, but it's already August. So I think the odds that we actually get a tomato out of this is very...
Well, we'll get to enjoy the leaves.
Well, that's true.
The beauty of the plant. What about the sweet potato situation?
The sweet potato vine is doing really well. The problem is we just don't have any dirt. So I'm not sure that it's making any sweet potatoes. I think we need to figure out how to add some dirt.
Well, I guess get dirt and put it there. Is it more complicated than that?
I don't know. It sounds hard.
It actually does sound pretty hard right now. Can we scavenge dirt from dirtier places than here?
Doesn't seem like a great idea.
Like, I'm definitely not walking into a Florida Home Depot to get a bag of dirt, but can we steal some dirt from a dirty hole somewhere?
I wonder if winter is going to be maybe our
The time to grow everything?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we planted the Robeson seeds right before we were going to have a hurricane. I was pretty concerned about that. But instead, we did not have a hurricane. It skirted right by us. We had beautiful weather. We're on the coast of Florida, you may recall. And instead, it went and knocked out power for a week at my parents' house in Connecticut.
Do they have power back yet?
No.
Still,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Oof. I mean, that could have been us. If that had been us, it would have been...
Let me make this clear, dear listener. We have no plan for if we lose power for a week.
We have a plan. That plan is to be miserable and have all our food go bad.
Oh, yeah. We did get our... Is this the first episode where we've had our chest freezer now?
Yes.
We didn't get the one that we had ordered from Sears where they kept calling us and saying, actually, it's going to be 2 weeks later. Actually, it's going to be 2 weeks later. But we did find another one. We've got it now, and we've got a bunch of stuff in it.
Sears still hasn't refunded our money, though, right?
No, they have.
They did.
Yeah.
They actually did.
They did.
Because they were like, we're going to keep your money for an additional 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah. I think Sears itself, that truly laudable old American company, venerable old American company, is now entirely a scam.
Yeah, it's basically an Amazon scam. That is what Sears now is. It's a scam seller.
Sponsors of the pod, Sears.
Yeah. Truly never buy an appliance from Sears. Never, ever do it.
In any case, yeah, it's a 7 cubic foot freezer, which seemed like on the small end of what was offered, but you could definitely, and maybe should, shove my body into it if needed.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely corpse sized.
Do you think Lucy would like to be in it?
I don't think she would like that, no. I mean, she might enjoy the novelty for a few minutes.
She likes to get into containers, but maybe not containers that are negative 20 degrees Celsius. But in any case, we can now store things as long as I guess we have a bunch of pesto in there, but I don't know what else from the garden makes sense to put in that freezer at this point.
Well, the question is, if we were to lose power for a week, how do we prevent everything in that freezer from being ruined?
I don't know. I guess we could ask if we could hook into our extremely Confederate loving neighbor's generator.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we'll just suffer. All right. Well, there is some breaking current events news on the garden seed front, which is probably pretty rare that I can say that.
We take you now to the scene of another fast-breaking news story.
This is a little bit of it's a little bit old news by now, and probably even more so by the time this episode comes out. But people have been getting random seeds mailed to them for no apparent reason. It appears to be a scam. I guess Amazon sellers will send products to random addresses. Unscrupulous Amazon sellers and similar will send them to random addresses so that a product will have been shipped, and then they can leave a fake review. Interestingly, the product that's shipped doesn't at all have to be the product that is reviewed, which is also why sometimes you'll discover...
So they have to put in a real shipping number? Is that the thing?
Yeah. The system has to record that a product was shipped. But sometimes you'll you'll look at something on Amazon and it will be a toothpaste. But when you read the reviews are actually for arthritis cream or a teddy bear or something completely random.
Are people reporting what kinds of seeds they're being sent?
Yeah, so people are getting these seeds, many of which are labeled as jewelry. So it's probably some sort of online jewelry seller.
Uh-huh.
And so far, there's at least a dozen different types of seeds. There's not just one single type of seeds. And so I
guess it's because they've chosen seeds because they're extremely cheap and extremely light to ship, and small, light, and cheap.
I guess, but if the product is meant to be earrings or something, I mean, earrings are also small and light.
Sure. But if you're sending a fake product, probably a handful of seeds is cheaper than sending an actual piece of jewelry.
Yeah, I'm sure that's right.
I mean, I guess that's the reason that this is being done, but seems like it would be ripe for conspiracy.
Yeah, well, so hold on. So the USDA is telling people if you get a mystery packet of seeds, obviously don't plant them, but also don't throw them away. You should contact the USDA to have them tested and destroyed.
Why is it obvious that you shouldn't plant them? Because they might be invasive or something?
Yeah, because I mean, almost everything that is invasive pretty much is something people planted on purpose because they thought it would be convenient or beautiful or delicious or whatever. And
someone sent it to them in the mail.
It's like why not?
Being at a club and someone saying, do you want some pills? And not telling you what those pills are. And you being like, yeah, absolutely. And then eating those pills.
Yeah, I think that's a good analogy, actually. Bad things could happen to the environment even more than are already happening if you plant some unknown seeds willy-nilly.
What do you think the average viewer of Fox News thinks is going on here?
Right. So I actually did look. Oh, wait. By the way, I wanted to mention the seeds so far have been identified as cabbage, morning glory, mustard, mint, sage, rosemary, lavender, hibiscus. I mean, it's just an assortment of garden
I guess you
seeds.
could make your own drugs with morning glories.
I saw a picture of a packet that looked like sunflower seeds to me as well. The Fox News headline for this, of course, refers to them as China plant seeds.
Okay, sure. Like the China flu.
Yeah, and then if you go down into the comment section.
Yeah, like the sunflowers that only China has, that known Chinese variety of plant, the sunflower.
Well, I mean, it's certainly within the realm of belief. I mean, if you read a little sci-fi short story where a country was committing bioterrorism by mailing
Seeds.
invasive genetically modified seeds or whatever.
Yeah.
Sure, that's
seems like that'd be
possible.
most likely to be the CIA of any organization in the world, maybe.
But I mean, it's obviously not the most likely explanation by far.
Right.
An internet scam, just like all the other internet scams, seems like the pretty obvious explanation here. But here's a representative comment on this news story. We are at war with the deep state. Unfortunately, the deep state is tied with China. We all know that. The Wuhan virus leaked from the Wuhan virology lab. We all know that too. No brainer. I also received seeds from China. It's strange because I purchased rose seeds via Etsy. And seller is from Singapore, and it took 2 months to get to me. Once I got it, I was surprised that it's from China. Time for me to hand it over to the state officials.
Yeah, I'm sure they'd love to receive that from you. They'll get right on it.
I mean, it's interesting that that person thinks that the seeds they
ordered those seeds.
They think it's the same situation as being sent unsolicited seeds. If mystery seeds are getting through the mail from China, Lord knows what else is arriving. Democrat ballots next.
I'm surprised that we're receiving any packages with the complete self-sabotage of our postal system right now.
A safe way to dispose of them would be put them in a blender and grind them to a very fine dust. And then someone else says, not safe or smart. And then someone else says, right, then inhale the Wuhan virus powder, right?
They think that China is infusing the seeds they're sending us with coronavirus, counting on us to put them in a blender and then snort them.
Seems like that's what they think, yeah. I don't believe for a second it's about Amazon reviews. No, there has to be something sinister with these seeds.
Maybe it's connected to Wayfair child trafficking in some way. Pizzagate.
Man.
Hashtag Pizzagate. Hashtag Seedgate.
Find where Democrats live and throw a few in their yards. They love and support China, so give them a gift from China.
Plant crops for your neighborhood Democrats.
I mean, the idea that the problem with invasive plants only happens when they're right in your own
yard.
personal yard. If only the Michigan governor allowed garden centers to open, this all could have been avoided.
What?
Remember how...
Okay, so they're concerned that the extended lockdown in Michigan forced the hand of seed buyers everywhere to seek out seeds from abroad.
Yeah, which
These were
misses the point that these
unsolicited.
were unsolicited.
Right, as they all appear to.
I would plant them because I don't like people telling me what to do.
Oh, well, they've really circled around on that one to... They've overthought this conspiracy theory to the point where now they are willing to plant them because the FDA said not to, even if it means inhaling the Wuhan virus. Is that your interpretation of that?
I mean, it seems like it means exactly what it says. They're not willing to do anything that's a good idea if anyone else has.
But they will do anything that someone...
It's the proximate, if someone tells them a bad idea and then someone else says, no, that's a bad idea, don't do it. If that person hadn't said not to do it, they wouldn't have done it in the first place because they're not going to do what someone tells them to do. But if someone else says not to do that, it's like one of those riddles where one of them always lies and one of them always tells the truth. There's a situation where now they have to do what the first thing told them to do, because otherwise then the second person's going to think that they got to tell them
So
what to do.
in this situation, what we need is George Soros to come out and say, ignore the FDA and plant those seeds.
Yeah, I think that would solve
That would
it.
solve the problem. Well, we're really fulfilling our promise of not bringing current events into this podcast.
Delivering all the hard-hitting news.
Well, let's get to the meat of the matter. So we're going back to our roots, no pun intended, and revisiting the catalogs that we talked about in our very first, now that we've reached the milestone episode 17, the big 1-7. We thought we'd go back and talk about Burpee and Seed Savers.
Classic.
Yeah, classics. I mean, two of the biggest companies, certainly. Like if you Google garden seeds, Burpee is the first result. I want to say that maybe Park Seed comes up before Seed Savers, but Seed Savers is like a top 3 or 4 result also. If you're just a layperson looking to buy some seeds, it's very likely you would be buying from one of these. And in our first episode, read from these two catalogs and pretty much immediately came to the conclusion that Burpee was complete trash and that Seed Savers was a very classy, well-constructed catalog with good copy. So I guess we're revisiting these to see if that opinion was hasty or if it's been borne out over time. The cover of Seed Savers, this is their 2020 catalog, it's a beautiful full cover glossy image of an almost sensual image of a sprouting plant. It looks like it would be at home in a nature documentary or something like that.
Yeah, it's a beautiful cover image.
Sure.
And the cover of Burpee is a person in a jean jacket holding a tomato that's been sliced in half. Looks like a pretty good tomato, I guess.
It's without obvious blemish. What's the tomato called?
Bodacious.
Sure.
But more disturbing, if you are looking at the front matter of the Burpee catalog, on page 3, there are some images. Some echinacea, some beautiful looking peas in pods, some squash, and then a turnip a raw turnip held in a hand that has a human bite mark. Like a person has picked up this turnip like an apple and taken a sumptuous bite, I guess.
Yeah, the picture is a high enough quality so that if you needed to identify a corpse by the dental records implied by these marks, you might be able to. Yeah, that's a disgusting and unprecedented way to eat a turnip, I think.
I guess maybe that's a thing people do, but it's weird that Burpee thinks that's the main way you would eat a turnip, is just out of hand like a piece of fruit.
Write in and let us know if you eat your turnips off the vine by munching into them.
I mean, it would be one thing to have a grated salad or something like that, but the idea of just holding a turnip in your hand and then eating it is very funny to me.
I'm going to read the description just because we mentioned a moment ago of their bodacious hybrid, which they're advertising. Incidentally, the cover also says they're offering 20% off the bodacious hybrid. The description of it is, bodacious is our gorgeous, juicy, and prolific new superstar, lovingly bred by Burpee. These large, round, vibrant, pure red 10 to 12 ounce fruits entice with heirloom aromatics and tangy tomato sweetness. Add scrumptious pizzazz to sandwiches, burgers, and salads. Toward the end of July, the bonanza begins. Compact 5 to 6 foot vines yield 8 to 10 spectacular fruits a week and a bold, audacious 40 to 50 per season per plant. Growing in large clusters, easy to pick and no cracking, excellent, quote, laugh off blight resistance.
Well,
What is an heirloom aromatic? What does it mean to make an audacious 40 to 50 per season? These adjectives are meaningless in
they're
these.
chosen at random.
They're chosen at complete random.
The silky sweet hybrid turnip description, which is the one featured as a delicious snack that you would just bite right into, description says, silky sweet judo flips the turnip. You'd think it was a skinless, coreless apple, but with a light sweetness and faint echo of its mustard ancestry. A satiny touch, crispy texture, and surprising moistness makes it seductively snacky.
So surprising moistness.
And seductively snacky.
I think we noted this in the last episode. We read like a couple Burpee descriptions, and they both had the descriptor of sensuous in it.
Yeah, they think a lot of things are sensuous.
Yeah, they really sexualize their plants. I'm sorry, I know we're fixating here on Burpee, but I've got to read. This is on page 7. The description of the Zumula catgrass. It begins, this seed description begins as follows. Purr, meow, 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 brep. That's the beginning of the description. Yeah. Boy, they needed to fill a number of words. And in order to do that, they wrote a bunch of cat sounds in, including brep, which I don't know what that is.
I think it's the sound that sounds like surprise.
Mer?
Brr.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Which doesn't make any sense. Why would a cat go purr, meow, 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 brr?
Yeah.
They would go brr first.
Yeah, that comes before anything else.
Wait, did you read the last sentence of this seed description?
Oh my God, I didn't. Will you read it?
Yeah, the last sentence is meeper, zoomula, mirror.
God damn it. That is garbage.
Yeah, I mean, it's gore.
So these are all from the first few pages of the Burpee cat. So obviously the Burpee catalog, like all other catalogs, is organized by type of seed, but they have this is in their like what's new section at the beginning. In contrast, the Seed Savers Exchange has a layout at the front of their catalog called The Collection, rare seed varieties offered by Seed Savers Exchange for the first time in 2020. Has a sort of a rustic design sensibility to it. I'll just read you one of the descriptions of one of their new offerings at random. This is the Vinedale pepper. This crunchy, juicy, and moderately sweet red bell pepper earned All-America Selections honors in 1952. After it was released by the Vineland Horticultural Experiment Station in Ontario, Canada. The early ripening variety turns from green to dark red as it ripens, varies in shape from triangular to bell, and has medium thick walls perfect for stuffing. Then the description ends with beep, beep, bloop, bleep, blop, bloop. So...
Wow.
So our biases are known.
Yeah, we're not hiding it.
We're not hiding it. But actually what we thought we'd do for the bulk of our description readings for this is an experiment where we read 2 descriptions of the same seed, one from Seed Savers and one from Burpee, and then try to guess which is which, to either confirm or problematize our priors. And I put these together, so Allison's going to be the one guessing, but I think we'll both read them.
Yeah, that sounds right.
So in a sense, this is a...
What the fuck is that?
Yeah, so what the fuck is that? As much as anything is. I'll read the first description. This is of the watermelon radish. So again, I'll be reading 2 descriptions of the same thing, the watermelon radish. The first one. These round 2 to 4 inch white radishes have a stunning white and pink interior and are also known as roseheart and Chinese red meat. The flesh of this winter radish is surprisingly sweet, crisp, and refreshing, and can also be pickled. Warm days, cool nights, fertile soil, and consistent moisture will result in a more colorful interior. And here's the second. Antique horticultural treasure from China of unearthly beauty. Large 3 to 3.5 inch round roots that are creamy white outside with a vivid burst of watermelon rose color at the center. Flesh is crispy, mild, and refreshing, with a sweet flavor perfect for salads, garnishes, or pickling. Enjoy roasted or sautéed with parsnips, carrots, or other root vegetables. Best grown in cool weather, sow in late summer for a fall crop. Now, I'll mention that I've tried to make these, like if I included ones like the cat one, it would be extremely obvious which was which, so I tried to make it at least a challenge here.
Well, I'm going to say the first one is Burpee.
Do you have rationale?
Yeah, so I think the specificity of the language in the second suggests more care and more familiarity of the person who wrote the description probably has actually eaten this radish.
Mm-hmm.
I doubt that Burpee prioritizes that. Also, the phrase surprisingly sweet shows up a lot in Burpee descriptions.
Mm.
It's like they think you don't like vegetables, but you're growing them anyway. And they need to convince you that actually they don't taste like vegetables.
You'll be surprised to learn you are wrong.
Wow, really?
Yep, the first one was Seed Savers. The second one was Burpee. Here's the tell for me. The second one, the first sentence is antique horticultural treasure from China of unearthly beauty. I feel like it's orientalizing the...
That's fair.
In a way that probably Seed Savers were avoid, like the unearthly beauty of something from China.
The thing is, I do believe that watermelon radishes are one of the most beautiful
They're
vegetables.
beautiful, absolutely. Here's the other thing that stood out to me as I was reading it, and I'm not sure if this is true across the board, but when they give the size descriptions of each, in Seed Savers, they're described as 2 to 4 inch white radishes. In Burpee, they're described as 3 to 3.5 inches. So I think the fact that Seed Savers gives a wider confidence interval in how big the thing is maybe a more honest accounting.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah, that they're willing to say that it might come in on the low end of 2 inch, as opposed to the very narrow 3 to 3.5 inch description Burpee.
I don't understand why you would be surprised that a radish is sweet and crisp. That seems like what radishes are like.
Sure.
I mean, sometimes they're very spicy.
Yeah,
but those are sort of the options. Wow. All right. Well, you really got me.
I got you. These aren't obvious, I think, which maybe says something on its face. But I mean, again, I didn't pick the most Burpee-ish descriptions, mostly because those were for the most Burpee-ish inane descriptions usually aren't for seeds offered by Seed Savers at all.
Right. They're for the Burpee specific seeds,
right.
The newer varieties, the old-fashioned stuff is whatever. They're probably reusing older copy.
Do you want to read the next?
Sure. Le Rat potato. The French potato is a culinary superstar of European haute cuisine. With a nuanced matrix of flavors, this gourmet potato's flavor is mildly nutty, reminiscent of chestnuts, hazelnuts, and almonds, mingled with a subtle sweetness. And here's the second one. Long prized by French chefs as a top-quality fingerling, we cannot recommend this variety highly enough, an absolute delight to cook. Long, uniform tubers have yellow flesh with firm, waxy texture and a nice nutty flavor. Holds together very well. Especially good for potato salad or as a boiled potato. Commands a high price both in the restaurant and fresh market trade.
All right, what do you think?
So first, I think it's worth pointing out that they both they both pull out the same flavor notes, right? They both very specifically mention that this is a nutty potato.
Sure.
I believe that the second one is from Seed Savers Exchange.
What's your rationale?
So, two things. I don't think Burpee usually advertises its seeds as produce that you would sell to restaurants or at a farmer's market, whereas Seed Savers Exchange often does. And that's the last line of the second review.
Sure.
Is mentioning their value as a crop to sell. The other thing is nuanced matrix of flavors, but then listing 3 nuts. It just seems like a person randomly grabbed some words.
You are correct.
Okay.
And that's actually what stuck out to me too. First of all, it's like wine descriptions that are like, there's a hint of a whatever, apple and a oak barrel. And like, nobody can taste or smell those things in it. There's no way when you're eating this potato, you're thinking, yes, chestnuts, hazelnuts, and almonds. Like nutty, absolutely. Like in Seed Savers just describes it as nutty, which is a reasonable way of describing it, I assume.
Yeah, I'm sure. I think that's true. I also just think it's a nuanced blend of 3 things that are, at least in potato form, probably not distinguishable in such a unique way. If they'd said it was a blend,
they said it was a blend and not a matrix, which doesn't make any sense.
A nuanced matrix is a pretty weird.
I mean, a matrix means a thing, and it's not that it seems like sort of like chestnuts, hazelnuts, and almonds. A matrix is like multi-dimensional. All right, well, you were right.
All right, so I'm 1
You're 1 and 1.
and 1.
We'll see if you can do better than 50-50.
Wow.
Here's the Dragon's Tongue Wax Bean. First one reads, Dragon's Tongue Wax is an old dual-purpose French variety, Dragon Lingerie, with gorgeous pods that are yellow streaked with purple. As snap beans, the pods turn all yellow after cooking, but they're delicious as shell beans too. The second one is, with exceptionally crisp and juicy pods, this Dutch wax bean bears large 6 to 8 inch cream-colored pods with vivid purple mottling that fades when beans are cooked. Pods are stringless and wide, compact, high-yielding plants.
I think this one is tricky.
Yeah, I agree. I have one thought about why one is one and the other is the other.
I think the second one is Seed Savers Exchange again.
Why do you think that?
The second description has more information about the plant as well as the beans. That the pods are stringless, that the pods are wide, that the plants are compact. It tells you more about what you should expect this to look like when it's growing. So that's my rationale there. Whereas the first description just describes the beans, like the food part, and what that looks like.
You're correct. For me, the way that in the Burpee description they say, the pods turn all yellow after cooking is sort of sounds unappealing. But in Seed Savers, it says vivid purple mottling fades when the beans are cooked, which seems like a more accurate description and also more appetizing one.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds more appealing. I'm also interested in the fact that Burpee describes them as French and Seed Savers Exchange describes them as Dutch.
So I've researched this. They are in fact Dutch. So that this comes back, this issue where Burpee is wrong about something in their description will come back later also, actually. Not that but I'm sure there are descriptions in a Burpee that are better than the whatever in a Seed Savers. I'm not saying the tell isn't that it's worse as a description. The tell is, other things we've come to associate about each catalog, I think, with each catalog.
Do you think that whoever was writing for Burpee,
they guessed it was French?
There's usually less care taken, or the person who's writing it doesn't seem to particularly care about plants. They're, I'm sure, just a copywriter. They write descriptions of lots of things. And I wonder if French just sounds fancier than Dutch.
Maybe, yeah. I think something we haven't mentioned since maybe the first episode also, and maybe a part of the origin story of this podcast, is that Allison worked a job after college writing copy, which is not to say that I don't think you claim special expertise in it, but you do know like speed matters, being paid per word, like all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that job was particularly miserable. I can imagine that the people who write the descriptions for Burpee have a job that was much like the job I had, where they install spyware on your computer to check how fast you're writing. And, they want you to use, like, they have some measure of the unique words. They don't want you to repeat words, even if they're the most accurate.
Too many times then.
And it's just sort of miserable versus some catalogs, when you read them, you know that someone who is deeply invested in growing food has written those descriptions to be useful to other people who are interested in growing food. Maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe there's someone at Burpee whose feelings I've hurt very badly. Yeah.
Well, we'll get a cease and desist. That's true.
Strawberry popcorn. The first description reads, "This heirloom corn is a pop star, producing several ears per 5 to 6 foot stalk of highly decorative popcorn when spaced at 9 inches apart. Short and rounded, the 2 to 3 inch ears remind us of large strawberries with row upon row of ruby red kernels." And the second description reads, "Small strawberry-shaped red ears are good for popping and gorgeous for fall decorations. Plants are 5 to 6 feet tall with 2 to 4 ears per stalk."
These are short. There's not a lot of content here.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much to go on here.
I wouldn't overthink it.
I think the first one is Burpee.
Yeah, that's correct.
Because of its use of the phrase pop star.
Yep. That's it. Honestly, I mean, it's inane, but I don't care. That's not objectionable to me.
Sure, whatever. It's fine.
Yeah.
But that's the only
It's definitely a
thing I can base.
Burpeeism, yeah. I'll read the Listada de Gandia eggplant. First one reads, "Fruits are 5 to 6 inches long with white and purple stripes, with excellent flavor and very thin skin. Does not require peeling. Harvest from very attractive plants in about 75 to 90 days from transplant. From renowned vegetable growing province of Valencia on the Mediterranean coast of Spain." And the second one, "Estada de Gandia is a treasure. This prized variety bears sweet, tender, thin-skinned, stunning eggplant. It likely originated in Spain. Gandia is a Spanish coastal city, where it is still revered today. The small 14-inch plants produce heavy yields of high quality, 8-inch oval white fruits with purple stripes and mild white flesh. The variety thrives in very hot weather."
All right, I think the second one is Seed Savers Exchange, and the first one is Burpee.
Why do you think that?
Well, this is another one that is actually, there's not a lot to go on. There's more information, but there's not a dead giveaway here.
Mm-hmm.
But a couple of things. I think the description of plants of the fruits as having white and purple stripes in the first description versus white fruits with purple stripes is an interesting distinction, and one is more specific than the other.
Mm-hmm.
There's more information about, again, the size of the plants, 14-inch plants, and the growing conditions, very hot weather.
Sure.
It just seems like a more useful description for the gardener to know what they're looking for and when to plant and what to expect.
Which is something you associate with Seed Savers.
That's right.
So you are correct.
I also think the admission of uncertainty in the origin,
yes, that's right,
is intellectually honest in a way that Burpee wouldn't care
correct.
for.
Also, the phrase in the first Burpee one, I don't know, something about this just gets me. "Harvest from very attractive plants" reads like find the hottest plants and harvest from those.
I mean, it reads
Like
like
it-
it was condensed. Like they were told this needs to be 6 words shorter.
Uh-huh.
And so at one point they mentioned that the plants were
Mhm.
beautiful, and in another sentence that they were ready to harvest in 75 to 90 days, and they just had to cut it down somehow, and that's how they did it.
Right. So, yeah, this is maybe a good time to mention that. So, the seed descriptions online, if you go to their websites and search for a seed, in each case are slightly different from those in the print catalog or like the PDF version of the catalog. Oddly enough, it seems as though the descriptions in the Seed Savers catalog are more fleshed out than those on the website. But it's sort of the reverse for Burpee, where their website descriptions are more florid. Like I'm making a generalization, but so I tried to cross-reference both and take the lengthier description in both cases, so like the less condensed version of each.
Got it.
Let's end with a pair that interest me. Do you want to read Burpee's Golden Beet?
Burpee's Golden Beet. Sweet, mild flavor with an inviting orange color. Burpee introduced this savory golden beet, a color breakthrough in the beet world, in the 1940s. Now, generations later, it remains an heirloom favorite. Gardener chefs prize the 2-inch globe's sweet, mild flavor and golden glow. Delicious roasted, in soups, and in salads when complemented by grapefruit and red onion. And here's the second description. A standout beet, offering both excellent roots and sweet, flavorful, edible greens that are ideal for sautéing. Introduced by Burpee in 1970, it has orange, globe-shaped roots that turn golden yellow when cooked, are tender and mild-flavored even when large, and will not bleed like red beets.
This was pretty fascinating to me.
I think the first one is Burpee and the second one is Seed Savers Exchange.
Tell me why.
I obviously don't know when this yellow beet was introduced to the world. But 2 things. I don't know that it's true that it was a color breakthrough, that no yellow beet ever existed before Burpee invented this one, because yellow chard is a thing. I'm sure there must be even older heirloom yellow beets. And there's something sort of self-mythologizing about the idea of it being introduced in the 1940s versus the 1970s. I think the statement about how much of a breakthrough this was and how long ago it was introduced, those both seem like brags.
So you're correct. I was very interested in the disagreement as to when they were introduced. So I dug around, and Victory Seeds also offers it and has a good, concise bit of research on it. They say, the history on this variety are a bit sketchy, but as we discover, documentation will include it here. Some seed sellers are incorrectly crediting Burpee with releasing their golden beet in 1828. So neither one of these is doing that, but they say this is obviously wrong since W. Atlee Burpee was not even born until 1858. And Victory Seeds goes on to say, what we do know is that golden colored beets have been around since the 1820s. So your instinct that Burpee did not make a color breakthrough in beets in the 1940s is correct, because golden color beets had been around for 120 years prior to that.
Wow, there's some real self-mythologizing
There
going
is.
on over at Burpee's.
And Victory Seeds also incidentally confirms that this variety was in fact released by the Burpee Seed Company in 1970. So they got their own year wrong.
You would think they'd have the records on that.
I think so. All right. Well, you're 4-1. Let's end with another one that's sort of paired with that.
Wow. I'm so tempted to quit while I'm ahead so that I can claim prowess, but okay.
This last one is sort of a gimme based on that one. So your 4-1 record stands, but this one, in light of what we just read, is interesting to me. It's the Cherokee purple tomato. First description reads, this large dark purple heirloom tomato from Tennessee is rumored to have come from Cherokee gardeners. With its rich, full flavor, it's often compared with brandy wine. The flesh is brick red and very attractive, sliced on a plate. Plants produce large vines that yield tomatoes, fully 5-inch across and 3.5 inches deep. And the second reads, a dusty rose-brown tomato.
Whoa.
I've been deteriorating in
Tomato.
my speech patterns. I'll take that
Maybe
one
there
again.
need to be some outtakes at the end where I talk about a glove-shaped beet and you talk about tomatoes.
Well, I'm going to cut the glove shape so they won't know what you're talking about right now, but I might leave this in. I'll try that again. A dusty rose-brown tomato that offers juicy, delicious sweetness layered with notes of complexity and intensity. The medium-sized slicer, fruits weigh up to about 12 ounces, was introduced in 1991 by Craig LeHoulier, a Seed Savers exchange member from North Carolina, from seed obtained by J.D. Green of Tennessee. Mr. Green claimed that he received seeds from a neighbor who said they'd been in his family for about 100 years and were originally acquired from Cherokee Native Americans.
So I think the second one is Seed Savers Exchange.
Yeah, I mean, this is, again, sort of a gimme. But I think it's fascinating that when it's a Burpee seed, both catalogs will acknowledge it's a Burpee seed, but I don't think Burpee acknowledges any other seed company besides them. So if it was brought in by Seed Savers, I don't think they would ever mention that in their catalog.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Also, the history offered in the Seed Savers description is, I mean, it's both very specific and acknowledges like the rumor inherent.
Yeah, it acknowledges uncertainty,
Yeah.
but is as specific as it can be.
Right. It was introduced by Craig LeHoulier, who's a Seed Savers member. He obtained that seed from J.D. Green. Mr. Green claimed that he'd gotten those seeds from a neighbor, and that neighbor said they'd been in his family for 100 years and were originally acquired from Cherokee Native Americans.
Yeah, I mean, that's quite a chain of hearsay.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, the Burpee description is rumored to have come from Cherokee gardeners. All right, well, you're 5-1. Congratulations. I think.
Oh, what a relief.
Yeah. I mean, that last one was a gimme, but I think it's clear that you know your shit.
Wow. Men's Health has an article titled What to Do If You Get Mystery Seeds from China in the Mail. Men's Health cares about that?
What do they say?
No, I'm just fascinated that Men's Health thinks what to do if you get mystery seeds from China in the mail is a Men's Health specific issue. There's a New York Post article titled, Here's What Happened When Man Planted Mystery Seeds from China, which is pretty clickbaity.
What happened?
There was a guy who, I'm assuming this is the same story, though probably there's more than one guy who planted them. Somebody planted them and they were some sort of a squash plant. And then his State Department of Agriculture found out that he'd planted them and said, please let us come and remove the plants. I'm not clicking on this New York Post article, but I'm assuming that if it's not that story, then it's a very similar one. Someone planted them, they grew, the end.
All right, before we leave, let me just offer you a quick review of that last plant we read, the Cherokee purple tomato.
I love reviews.
Yeah. In 4 reviews on Seed Savers, this has a 5 out of 5 star average. On April 12th, 2020 of this year, I'm sure that this person had nothing else going on in their life, then Darcy writes, although it takes all season for the fruit, it's worth the wait. I find it doesn't do as well in pots as being in the ground. I do not get a lot of fruits per plant, so having enough in the ground is key. I also find this one to be more prone to splitting as well as blight than some of the other varieties I've tried in the past. But well worth the fight, as it is the best steak-style tomato I've ever tasted. Who needs ketchup when you have Cherokee purple? A definite must-have if you like tomato with your grilled meats. And yes, it is as sweet as they say.
Oh, that's a delightful
It's a
review.
nice review. Like, it acknowledges the problems, but if you can transcend your issues, if you can move past them, then it's a real treat. Then I'll read one from Burpee. Also a decent review. It's a 4-star review from 3 months ago from Soil Doc in New Hampshire. It's titled Excellent Taste, but not a, quote, show tomato. I've grown this tomato for several years. It has an excellent taste and is quite productive. It produces large fruit, but sometimes they're quite misshapen with deep divisions. They don't look so nice if you're trying to impress guests with your beautiful tomato slices. The primary difficulty with this tomato is color. They never get 100% red, and sometimes a completely ripe tomato still has a good bit of green. This can result in a decision to let it grow a little longer, ending with an overripe and degenerate tomato.
Sounds like they don't know what color this tomato is supposed to be, first of all.
Yeah, I think that's right.
It's right in the description. It's not supposed to be red.
They're upset that they don't think these tomatoes will impress their guests. And they're worried that if they stay on the vine too long, they become degenerate.
Yeah, there's some problems there. I would describe our tomatoes as degenerate.
Yeah, definitely. All right, well, unless all your vegetables are degenerate, you should eat them.
We're all just doing the best we can.
I guess, but speak for yourself.
It's seedy business. It's seedy business. Boring talk about seeds, seedy talk between boys. Mind-numbing chatter about ovules and spores. We'll dig a ditch and we'll moan and split the difference. It's seedy business. It's seedy